You've spent years surrounded by people and still felt completely alone. Not because something is wrong with you, because something is right. Most people will never understand that, and that's exactly the point. The people who feel most alone are often the ones who see most clearly. Everyone assumes loneliness means you're missing something, that if you're often alone, you must have failed at connection somehow. Too difficult, too closed off, too much. But here's what they don't tell you. In 2008, neuroscientist John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago discovered something that should have changed everything. Loneliness activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Your brain processes social isolation the same way it processes a broken bone. Think about that. Your nervous system treats being alone like a threat to survival, and yet some people choose it anyway. Not because they're broken, because they've grown past the version of themselves that needed constant company to feel whole. For you, loneliness isn't a wound. It's a result of seeing through people faster than people can hide, a result of growing past conversations that used to satisfy you, until one day they stopped and you couldn't pretend otherwise. It's not that you couldn't find connection. It's that most connection stopped feeling like connection at all. Just routine, just noise, just two people occupying the same room without actually meeting. Being surrounded by people is not the opposite of loneliness. Sometimes it's the definition of it. You know this feeling. You're at a gathering, surrounded by people, laughing at the right moments, saying the right things. You show up when expected. You keep the peace. And yet somewhere behind your eyes, you're watching it all from a distance, like an actor who forgot why they took the role. Because the loneliness that breaks people isn't the kind that comes from an empty room. It's the kind that lives inside a crowd. The kind where you're surrounded and still invisible. Where nobody in the room actually knows you. They only know the version you've been performing for them. Schopenhauer wrote it more than 200 years ago, and it has never stopped being true. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. 3/4. Just to fit. Just to be understood. Just to avoid the discomfort of being the one who doesn't quite belong. At some point, the math stops making sense, and you start choosing silence over performance. Not because you hate people, because you're tired of paying that price. And something strange happens when you stop performing. The silence that used to feel like failure starts to feel like relief. You didn't become selective because you gave up on people. You became selective because you stopped lying to yourself about them. There's a reason self-aware people end up alone more often than most. It's not bad luck. It's not a flaw in their personality. It's selection. The more clearly you see people, their patterns, their inconsistencies, the small ways they manage their image instead of living honestly, the harder it becomes to pretend you don't notice. You stop accepting company just to avoid silence. You stop forcing conversations that circle the same surface forever. You stop staying in rooms where you have to dim yourself down to fit. This isn't arrogance, it's standards. And most people never develop them, because most people are more afraid of being alone than of being false. It's easier to fill the room with noise than to sit in the quiet long enough to hear what it's actually telling you. The hardest person to sit with is yourself. That's exactly why most people never do it. Being alone forces you to face something most people spend their entire lives avoiding: yourself. Without distraction. No noise to drown out your thoughts. No audience to perform for. No one to reflect back the version of you that you've decided to be. Just you, and everything you've been running from. This is why most people fear solitude more than they fear failure, because failure has an explanation. Silence has none. It just sits there, patient, until you stop avoiding it and start listening. The people who endure that discomfort come out the other side different. They stop needing constant validation. They stop shrinking themselves to be palatable. They stop fearing rejection, because they've already faced the deepest rejection there is. Sitting with themselves, seeing everything, and deciding to stay anyway. That's the line most people never cross, not because they lack the strength, but because they never give themselves the chance to find out they have it. Loneliness chosen deliberately is not isolation. It's the beginning of something most people never find. Loneliness chosen deliberately becomes something else entirely. It becomes clarity. You start making decisions without waiting for permission. You start speaking without softening the truth to keep people comfortable. You stop performing a version of yourself that was built for an audience that was never really watching. The people who reach this place aren't cold. They're not broken. They're not difficult. They're just done pretending. And here's the part that surprises most people. This is often when real connection finally arrives. Not the desperate kind built on fear of being alone, but the kind built between two people who don't need each other to survive, who choose each other not out of habit or convenience, but because something real actually exists between them. Because the deepest relationships were never designed for people running from themselves. They were designed for people who've already sat in the silence, faced what was there, and decided to stay. So if you find yourself alone more often than most, don't rush to fix it. Ask first what it's building in you. Some of the strongest people you will ever meet spent years in empty rooms, becoming someone worth knowing, before they let anyone else try. So, the next time the room feels empty, don't reach for your phone. Don't fill the silence with noise just to feel less alone. Sit in it, and ask yourself one question. Am I running from myself, or am I finally becoming someone I don't need to run from? That answer will tell you everything about where you're going.